Good afternoon, everybody. Today is the fifth and the last day of our presentations. Semester 3 students are going to end their third season of presentations here. Today they are making presentations on cultural studies. Let us see the topics of afternoon session of presentations. We will have, let me share a screen. Nirali will start with the topic power and culture, how power shapes knowledge and society, followed by Nikita's presentation on a truly educated person is the one who questions power, cultural studies and critical consciousness. Mansi's will be on the convergence of comparative literature and cultural studies, exploring culture, identity and power across texts and contexts. Devangini on hyperreality and the spectacle, culture in the age of simulation. Smriti's will be on the political economy of the scroll and the feed, cultural studies analysis of attention, labor, and everyday life in digital capitalism. Shruti's will be on digital culture between technological determinism and human agency. Shatakshi's will be on analysis, production and consumption of culture. I think there is some problem in the title. Analysis, production and consumption of culture. That's not suitable title. Media, fashion, music, social media. Okay? Need to work on this. Tanvi, revisiting the canon, cultural studies approaches to Shakespeare and Shelley in the age of popular culture. Rajdeep on cultural studies in the White Tiger, power, identity and the Rooster Coop. Krishna Baraya on American multiculturalism in Zumpa Lahiri's The Namesake. Sagar on contact zones and cultural encounters in postcolonial urban spaces. Srusti on the language of justice and equality. Nisthas will be on cultural influence of movies and pop culture on fashion and identity. Rosmin on eating identity, food, everyday life, and cultural representation in India and beyond. And the last one will be by Meeta on Chetan Bhagat and the commodification of Indian youth culture. So the topic sounds very attractive and very interesting also. Generative AI is helping you in preparing beautiful, very attractive titles. We hope your slides also will have equally good content. So let us start with the first presentation.
So good afternoon everyone. I am Nirali Vagela. Today I am going to present power and culture, how power shapes knowledge and society. This is my academic information. Research question. How does power influence the production, validation and dissemination of knowledge within different culture and historical contexts? Hypothesis. Power and knowledge are mutually constitutive force. Dominant cultural shape what counts as a legitimate knowledge to sustain existing hierarchies, while emerging knowledge systems such as indigenous epistemologies and digital networks challenge and redistribute this power relation by pluralizing truth and authority. So this is table of contents introduction. So Foucault say that power is everyone and it affects education, society, culture and all those things. Then understanding power and cultural. In Foucault's view, power is not only top down but spread through all social relations. Culture and body, power shape individual and their identity, often through cultural norm. So, in our everyday life, in our education, family, in all those kind of things, power play a vital role. Then, culture as a commodity. Culture is modern society becomes something to own and display or status. Cultural objects like art, literature turned into social currency used to show superiority. Thus, culture lost its authentic value. So nowadays, cultural becoming kind of a thing that all people are showing off. Then, the cultural reproduction of power. Power continue through symbol, ideology, and cultural, not only money or force. When cultural belief in authority weaken, even powerful leader can fall. Example, leader like Saucer lost power when people stopped believing in their cultural legitimacy. So power is not stable; it's change it's change with time. Like if someone right now is powerful, and after some time they become powerless. Then what is a knowledge society? A knowledge society use knowledge to protest and participate. It differs from information society, which just curriculate data for limited groups. The goal is inclusive development through knowledge start by all. So society is kind of think that power knowledge is for everyone, and every group and people have a right to have a knowledge. Then the paradox of knowledge society. Knowledge is no longer monopolized by expert, it's now social. The paradox, more knowledge doesn't always mean more power. It can weaken control since everyone can question authority. So, if someone is knowledgeable, it doesn't mean they have more power, because in contemporary time, all are knowledgeable by internet. So, right now, all have a authorities to control the authorities. Western knowledge, a monolithic view. Western colonial power defined their knowledge as a universal, rejecting other as a primitive. This made Europe the center of a truth and a power. It argued we must look at who produce knowledge and why certain voices are silenced. So Western people think that their knowledge is universal, while other people's knowledge is primitive, because their language is global. So they think that they are more powerful and knowledgeable than other people. Then defining indigenous knowledge. Indigenous knowledge is traditional, experiment, and rooted in local culture. It connects human to nature and community. European dismiss it as inferior, but it actually offers sustainable and context-based wisdom. So, indigenous knowledge is like we have to experience everything. Some things are we can't understand with reading or watching. So experience is more primitive and more needable in the indigenous knowledge. The academic and social struggle. The rise of feminism, multiculturalism, and diverse student body have challenged traditional Eurocentric, male-dominant academic system. Those changes represent a struggle for representation and quality in knowledge creation. So in India, we know that in old time, not all people have a right to education. Only some of higher level caste have a right, and lower level people don't have right for education. So we see a discrimination in education in the older time, and in contemporary time, everyone have a right for education. Knowledge as a tool for dominance. When knowledge is used by dominant group like colonizer, it becomes a weapon of a control. The idea of a universal truth hides political motives. It justify oppression by claiming neutrality or objectivity. So when some country have more power, they try to dominate other country because so knowledge become weapon for them, and they try to dominate other people by knowledge. The centrality of non-knowledge. Modern society now realize how much they don't know, especially about unpredictable issue like climate change. Non-knowledge or ignorance is not a failure; it's a part of the knowledge process, revealing uncertainty and complexity. So it's mean half knowledge is problem, but if someone don't have knowledge, they can still learn it. Cultural and conflict, the helping discourse. Even even uh, Even opposing political group, liberal versus conservative, often share similar cultural language, like the idea of a helping. Understanding this shared discourse can create unity and dialogue in diverse society. Then society, individualism and escape. Aaron's note that earlier individual could escape social control like a rebel or outcast. In modern mass society, there is no escape. As well, individuals are observed into the social system, leading to despair and conformity. So, earlier, as we know that education is not for all people. So, some can say that they are not knowledgeable because they don't have a right of education. But in contemporary time, everyone have a internet and all can get knowledge from internet, and there is no escape right now to say that there is no knowledge. The dominance of the static view. In India, politically maturity become tied to the state-centric model, a colonial inheritance. Both labeled as a Marxist ideology continue this after independence. The result, India equates progress with state power, not a cultural diversity. So, India's knowledge is known by how their government is knowledgeable rather than how their culture, tradition, and all those diversity. Conclusion: the concludes that power and knowledge are deeply interconnected. Dominant culture define what counts as a truth, shaping society's understanding. Recognized diverse epistemologies challenge this dominance, promoting intellectual equality, cultural inclusive, and a more democratic production of knowledge in a global society. This is a reference. Thank you. Any question?
So, Nirali, my question is, can open access knowledge truly eliminate power hierarchy in the digital age?
Open access knowledge can give us access to the education and resource, but it cannot eliminate power of power hierarchy in digital age, because it's still is, wealthy country and a powerful institution have a more data and access of all those things. So they are in control of this. So this cannot eliminate power hierarchies. It also make inequalities.
Nirali, my question, what challenge do indigenous and a local knowledge system face in global academia?
Indigenous and local knowledge system face problem like lack of recognition and language barrier and dominance of western idea and ideologies. So, because their language, they all don't know their language, and only the native people know their language. So western country thought that they are less scientific knowledge, and it make big challenge for them. Thank you. This is from my side.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Today is my presentation topic about a truly educated person is a one who questions power, cultural study, and critical consciousness. So, this is my personal information, table of contents, and research questions and hypothesis. First, we see introductions. In introductions, education must serve as a process of awakening, not adjustment, because it shapes how individuals perceives freedom and authority. Learning that priorities, memorizations, and technical performance often neutralize curiosity, preventing students from interrogating injustice. And educated society depends on people who ask why things are and the way they are, and imagine how they might be otherwise. Only when inquiry replaces obedience and can education cultivate a genius democratic participation. So in education and power, knowledge operates within a network of economic, political, and cultural power that determine what is accepted as a truth. Educational systems frequently internalize the dominant ideology by rewarding compliance and discouraging distance. Discovering the structure of frame authority as a neutral, using language to stabilize the hierarchy of class, gender, and race. Recognizing that truth is a socially produce enable learners to challenge the invisibility of power embedded in institutions. So critical pedagogy as a resistance. So in critical pedagogy redefines teaching as a moral and political act that connect knowledge to anticipations. Rather than transmitting information, educator fosters spaces of dialogue where students examine how culture reproduce dominations. Such pedagogy restores imagination as a democratic force that allows learners to envisage alternative to neoliberal rationality. When students recognize their positions within a system of inequality, education become an act of resistance and hope. So the educated mind and moral responsibility. So in this, the true education involves developing intellectual autonomy and the courage to defend moral principles against the social pressure. The act of learning gains ethical meaning when knowledge translates into collective responsibility and civic actions. A genuinely educated mind integrates reason with empathy, refusing to separate thought from its human consciousness. Though who questions power embody education's highest aim, the transformation of understanding into justice. So in language, media, and control. So language functions as a technology of power that shapes perceptions and limits what can be imaged. Through selective framing and repetitions, mass media collective consensed by normalizing inequality and silencing alternative narratives. When citizens lack a critical literacy, they mistake ideology for truth and participation for consumptions. The educated individually must therefore learn to decode the discourse of authority and reclaim the capacity for independent thought. So reclaiming education for democracy. So market divine reform have a transformed education into a commodity designed to supply labor rather than to neutral intellect. The narrowing of curricula Two measurable outcomes erodes the moral and imaginative dimension of learning. Democratic educational vision demands the integrations of critical reflections, cultural awareness, and technical skill. Um, Synthesis and core argument. Across of thinkers, education appears as the battlefield between conformity and critical consciousness. First we see in neoliberal systems, reduce learners to consumers, while critical pedagogy instead on their role as active meaning makers. Questioning power transforms education from institutional routine into a lifelong practice of ethical inquiry. So, in language discourse and media are the arenas where these struggles is fought, demanding vigilant and reflexive literacy. So, reviving the democratic and humanistic mission of learning ensures that education serves society rather than market. So, um, in conclusion, a truly educated person therefore become a more an intellectual witness against the operations, using the knowledge not as an instrument of compliance but as a means to translate learning into democratic action and social transformations. So these are my references, and thank you. Now, do you have a question?
So, Nikita, my question is, if education failed to encourage questioning, what kind of society does it create?
So s- it's a society, it creates a society of obedient subject who accept dominations instead of conscious citizens, and who create who strive for justice and freedom.
So, Nikita, my question is, why does true education require transformation rather than adaptation?
So, and because transformation awakens critical awareness, enabling individual to individual to uh, create individual to create critical uh, knowledge, questions injustice, and who create just who create just like just like democratic society. So this is from my side. Thank you.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mansi Joshi, and my today's topic is the convergence of comparative literature in cultural studies, exploring culture, identity, and power across text and context. So, academic details, table of contents, introduction. So, comparative literature studies how literature from different cultures, language, and histories connect and differ. So when we think about empire, colonization, or migration, this study becomes even more important because culture mix and influence each other. So cultural study takes this idea further. It doesn't just look at the books, but also at movies, TV, music, daily life, and social idea as part of our culture. Research question. So how does integrating cultural studies into comparative literature enhance our understanding of global literary traditions and intercultural dynamics? So hypothesis is the incorporation of cultural studies into comparative literature fosters a more nuanced appreciation of literary texts by contextualizing them with their cultural, historical, and social milieus, thereby enriching cross-culture analysis. So first is the importance of cultural studies in comparative literature. So the study of literary across cultures began because people wanted to compare and understand different cultures, especially when they came in contact. So historical context shapes culture and the literature. So think like empire building, colonization, migration, and trade brought culture together. So these encounters lead to changes like hybridity culture, influence, adaptations, even cultural trauma. So the main idea is that cultural understanding, we can learn something from this and we can reduce misunderstanding because we have to study different cultures. So then we can come to what is real culture of their. We are Gujarati, but if we go through Maharashtrian culture or XYZ, so we can encounter with their rituals, with their idea of living. So this is the differentiate both culture, and we can understand more about their culture. So enriching one's own culture. So it's seeing how other tell stories, speak, can influence and depend one's own culture. And then multiculturalism is also important in model global lives. So these all factors matters a lot in cultural and comparative studies. So key arguments is that so this article says that understanding literature, we must study it within its cultural background and compare it with the other cultures. So when cultures meet through colonization or globalization, they influence and blend with each other. So comparative literature should include not only text but also media, art, and social life. So in our cultural studies paper, sir also shows us some videos. So visual, through the visual effect also help us to understand this cultural scenario and all the backgrounds. So then we can betterly compare and betterly study through this the medium. So in contemporary time, we also compare that we can apply this idea by reading and studying literature together with films, media, and cultural practices from around the world. For example, when we study an Indian novel, so we can compare it with the Western or African works to see how themes likely identity, migration, or gender. So we can read Trojan War and Mahabharata. So in Trojan War, we can compare with Achilles Hill, and here we can compare with the Kaurav and Pandavas. So this is one comparative study. And then the problem with traditional comparative literature. So we can see that we always in this type of study we can find some bias. So like in old fashioned and limited tradition, comparative literature mostly studied famous European writer and ignore voice from other regions like Asia, Africa, or Latin America. But we also have to go through these minor and other cultures. So we can also identify that sometimes we find similarities in different culture, and sometimes we can see that many major difference. And then exclusion of diversity. So this approach did not value cultural difference or the unique histories and traditions of other part of the world. So need for change. So scholars now believe that European literature should be studied as a part of a larger global level. So here I am only talking about European literature, but in this field, so many cultural reference sometimes we neglect, like we consider that point is in a minor factor. So goal of reorientation is also major point, like the proposed reorientation, so in two words, comparative cultural studies. So study all kind of genres, not just in the novel. For example, we are studying about adventure stories, so it exits many culture and help compare world literature. So this type of story we can visualize their culture, and we can visualize some specific space. And if we show in our YouTube, now we can easily search and google it out in a through social media. So it's very now it's easy, we can explore with these all tools. So on the role of the cabin in Uncle Tom's cabin. So here it means that in Uncle Tom's cabin, the cabin is more than just a small house. So Uncle Tom wants only get one cabin, not a proper house. So this cabin's definition is that the cabin is also smaller than house. Still, he that slave survives his whole life in this cabin, and he also try to save someone's life. And this cabin is a symbol. So using the idea of a spatial narrative, how space tell a story. So one space also can give idea of the novel. So the paper says that cabin works in this three way, like physical space, it shows who people are and how they live or related in society. And then sacred space is that stand for faith, godness, and moral strength. We can't imagine that one cabin has this much symbols and this much respect who are living in that cabin, because we are want more luxurious life. But when we see about this novel, so we can say that one cabin is also helpful, and also one person is going through his life. So we can talk about this temporal function. So cultural studies looks at how culture, beliefs, religion, space, so this connect to power and social controls. As I mentioned that in Uncle Tom's cabin, the cabin shows how enslaved people create meaning and identity even inside a system of oppression. So here, the when comparative literature becomes cultural studies. So this article says that comparative literature and comparative studies are joining together. So instead of just studying books from different countries, scholars now also look at culture, their identity, their power, how society rule, and media, literature shapes who are and how we think. So before we apply for visa, so America also said that how social media, our Instagram contents, its effect on their country, or which type of our thinking relate with this social media. So this social media's idea we can also apply here. Then conclusion is that combining cultural studies with comparative literature help us study literature in relation to culture, power, society, making the discipline more inclusive. So it's critical and relevant to today's global and diverse world. So through this idea, we can make a chain of this global world. So we can encounter with one or each other's comparative literature, and we can go through their literature and their stories. So we can broad our mind, and we get several new informations through this. Here my references. Thank you.
So, Mansi, my question is how does the cabin reflect power and resistance in Uncle Tom's Cabin from a cultural studies view?
Yes. So, if we are not about with this text, so first we have to about what was going before 20th century. So we have to talk about American and the slave people. So these slave people got only one cabin, but how he survives his life in this cabin, and we can see the hierarchical idea that American people was in hierarchy and on power, but this Uncle Tom's cabin has such a faith, and his dignity, his all the respects he only get from this cabin. So his all the life is spent in this cabin, and we can say that colonizer and colonized people idea through this word cabin.
So my question is, why is the cultural context initials in comparative?
Yes. So cultural context essential in comparative study, because if we read someone's poem, or if we read someone's text or any context, so we have to first of all dig deeper. What is their contents rely on? Is there any cultural idea or any identity, or that poem or any context? What writer talk about? So firstly we have to deep dive, and we can compare, we can also get several information, and then we can come up with the what writer or what they want to say. So it's a major point. We have to compare this literature, and we have to differentiate, and we have to we may get some same points in that. Thank you.
Mansi, you have not submitted your this presentation in Google Classroom. No, no, not it's not showing. It is assigned only. It's not showing resubmit. So repeatedly that is happening. Once it is fine, but then again, 2 days ago also you were told to resubmit. It is you have not submitted once also. Now it is done.
So hello everyone, my today's topic name is hyperreality and the spectacle, culture in the age of simulation. Academic information, table of contents. My research question is how do media, social platforms and digital technologies create a hyperreal experiences that shape a contemporary perceptions of a reality, identity, and a culture. My hypothesis is exposures to a mediated representations, simulations, and spectacles in a media and digital platforms significantly alters an individual's perception of reality, encouraging performative identities and a preference for a curated hyperreal experiences over authentic lived experiences. Introduction. Yes, sir. So Baudrillard's seminal work, Simulacra and Simulation 1981 outlines how signs and symbols no longer merely represent reality but instead create a new reality. So that is a more real than a real itself. In this hyperreal world, media and technology construct experiences that individuals perceive as a more authentic than their actual lived experiences. Key concepts in a contemporary society, representation often replaces reality. Jean Baudrillard's simulation refers to a sign and images that no longer reflect reality but create their own existence. This leads to a hyperreality, a condition where reality and representation are indistinguishable and a simulation are experienced as a more real than a reality itself. Uh, Complementing this, Guy Debord's spectacle describes a society dominated by images where authentic social life is replaced by mediated appearances. Together, these concepts explain how media, advertising, and digital culture shape our perception and blur the line between the real and the simulated. Simulation and media. In the modern world, advertising, cinema, and social media do more than reflect than a reality. They construct it. Images, signs, and a representation shape how people perceive the world. For example, influencer culture markets are not just product but lifestyle and identities, turning curate images into a simulated reality that audience engage with as it if it is were a real. In today's media driven world, advertising, cinema, and social media construct a reality rather than reflect it. Globally, platforms like Instagram and TikTok turn everyday life into a digital performance, where influencers such as Kylie Jenner and Khaby Lam sell lifestyle instead of products. In Indian context, we see Bollywood films and ads like Surf Excels, Daag Achhe Hain, or influencers simulate idealized emotions, values, and the social harmony. Both globally and India media blurs the boundary between image and reality, turning life into a simulation of ideals and desires. Hyperreality in everyday life. So, in today's digital age, people often engage more with representations than with real experiences. Jean Baudrillard's concept of hyperreality captures this condition where media, technology, and entertainment produce images so vivid and desirable that they replace reality itself. What we see online in films or in advertisements is not just a reflection of life, but a constructed version that shapes how we think, desire, and behave. Globally, platforms like Instagram, TikTok promote a hyperreal lifestyles through influencers or AI-generated personas such as Lil Miquela and Shudhu Graham, whose virtual presence feel more real than authenticity itself. In Indian context, Bollywood films glamorize love, success, and family life, while influencers carefully curate digital selves that audience treat as genuine. Even India's virtual influencer, Kaira, shows how artificial creation now possesses a real culture and a commercial influence, proving that in the age of simulation, the image of becomes more powerful than the original. The spectacle. Guy Debord, in The Society of the Spectacle, describes the modern society as one where appearances and images dominate social life. The spectacle refers to a condition in which representations replace direct experiences. People relate to the world primarily through a mediated image rather than a personal engagement. So, reality becomes something to be consumed visually rather than lived. In today's world, news often takes the form of entertainment, with the sensationalism shaping public perceptions more than a factual reporting. Similarly, social media platforms like Instagram and YouTube organize a life around visibility, curate moments, live updates, and filtered experiences become more substitutes for genuine social interactions. In the Indian context, a political campaign, celebrity culture, and even social movements are deeply shaped by the spectacle. Events such as a high-profile wedding, political rally, and televised debates are staged as a visual performance to influence emotion and identity. From Bollywood awards shows to viral social media trends, the spectacle creates a world where appearance and performance define a reality. Effect on culture. In the age of hyperreality and spectacle, culture itself become a network of images, simulations, and the performances rather than a lived experiences. People begin to perceive the world through a media filter, leading to a distorted sense what is real. Authentic experiences are replaced by a curate representation. Travel become about taking a perfect photos. Relationships are measured by online visibility, and success is defined by how it appears to others. Identity too becomes increasingly performative. Individuals craft and maintain versions of themselves for digital display on Instagram, YouTube, living through a simulations of their ideal selves rather than their genuine emotions or actions. So in today's culture, we find that people are more look in showing rather than experiencing or living real experiences. In Indian context, influencer culture and aspirational advertising amplify this performative tendency where people measure happiness and worth through a material display and a social validation. For example, contemporary culture vividly illustrate Baudrillard's and Debord's ideas through a numerous real-world examples. Virtual influencers uh, ins- uh, or brands deals emotional engagement despite not being a real people. Similarly, reality TV shows like Big Boss in India or Keeping Up with the Kardashian globally transforms ordinary life into a performance where participants act out of dramatized versions of themselves for public consumption. The rise of meme culture further shows how humor, emotion, and even political critique are now mediated through an endlessly shared image rather than a lived discussion. Together, these examples reveal how digital media transforms culture into a cycle of science and spectacles where imitation, simulation, and performance dominate the experience of reality. Criticism and implications. In conclusion, in the postmodern age, hyperreality describes a world where simulations become more real than a reality itself. According to Jean Baudrillard, reality is no longer a fixed reference point. Instead, it is a constructed, mediated, and consumed through images, signs, and digital representations. Debord's concept of the spectacle further shows how society organizes experiences around appearance, shaping not only perception but also identity and culture. So, together, these ideas highlight how media, technology, and simulation dominate contemporary life, influencing how people think, feel, and interact with the world around them. Here is my references, and thank you. Now we are free to ask questions.
My question is, how does hyperreality affect the way people understand truth in today's media culture?
Hyperreality affect the way people understand truth in today's media. So it blurs the line between what is truth and what is illusion, what is AI made. So we think what is truth is what we see. So it blurs the line between this.
So my question is, what is the difference between Baudrillard's hyperreality and Debord's spectacles?
Yes, they both convey a same message but in a different way. Baudrillard's hyperreality shows that what is copied or what is illusion is a real rather than a real ones. And Debord's the spectacle shows that how people or organizations shows or looks what is a real rather than a real ones. So they both are convey a same message but in a different ways. Thank you.
So, hello everyone. Today I'm presenting on the political economy of the scroll and the feed, a cultural studies analysis of attention, labor, and everyday life in digital capitalism. So these are my academic information, table of contents, and my research question. So my research question asks that in what ways do digital social media platforms commodify users' attention and emotional labor through the ordinary cultural practice of scrolling, and does this constitute a new form of capitalist exploitation or merely an extension of existing consumer culture? So my hypothesis. Uh, I assert that digital platforms represent a qualitatively new stage of capitalist exploitation, not simply an extension of traditional consumer culture. Using the Raymond Williams theory of concept of culture as ordinary and Karl Marx theory of alienation, I argue that scroll transforms everyday culture participation into unpaid immaterial labor, and it extracts a surplus value from human consciousness itself. So this differs from traditional factory exploitations in three ways because first is the site of extraction is cognitive and emotional, not physical. Second is the labor is disguised as leisure through clever platform designs. And the third is we are simultaneously workers and products being sold to advertisers. Uh, Here I have put the critical positioning that says users have choice. That as many critics says that users have choice and they can just leave the digital platforms on their own. So on that, I have to counterpoint that when opting out means social isolation and professional disadvantage, is that really a choice? And as Wang's 2024 research article proves, that structural alienation and the Heidmeyer's study shows that attention has become a distinct symbolic currency, and the choice is become an illusory part. So, introduction. In today's age, we can see the digital landscape. In digital landscape, scrolling has evolved into a profound economic and cultural process. The scroll and the feed are no longer neutral interfaces, and they are mechanisms through which capital organizes our attention, emotion, and subjectivity. So Raymond Williams taught us that everyday practices are central sites of ideological reproduction, and digital capitalism reconfigures the ordinary into a system of value extraction, where visibility, affect, and engagement become commodities. So my argument today is simple, as users are both the laborers and the products of the digital systems, and platforms transform human consciousness into a productive force, extending capitalist relations into the realm of perception and everyday life. So theoretical foundation, culture is ordinary and the scroll is now become ordinary. So Raymond Williams argued in 1958 that culture is not elite or rare, it's ordinary and embedded in everyday practices as a whole way of life. Culture has two aspects, the known meanings passed down and the observations discovered. So today we see the most ordinary cultural practice is to scroll, and this ritual shapes how billions organize their perception of reality, social relationships, self-worth, and identity, and daily rhythms and attention. So here my argument is that the ordinary practice is engineered to transform attention and emotion into tradable commodities, and what appears as leisure scrolling for pleasure is actually become a labor work for profit of the companies or the platforms. So we are producing data that platforms monetize, and the ordinariness makes it effective. So it feels natural, inevitable part of life. The attention economy, from scarcity to currency. So here is the fundamental paradox. Information is abundant, but attention remains biologically limited, and this creates the attention economy. So Heitmeyer's groundbreaking 2025 research identifies the two types of attention. First is a flow attention, which is the biological resource of consciousness. We expend moment to moment, and it constantly depletes and cannot be saved. The second is calcified attention, that is the accumulation through metrics, likes, views, and followers. So here is how it works. Calcified attention creates a self-reinforcing feedback loop, and high view counts attract more viewers through algorithmic promotion. So the world's largest corporations like Meta, TikTok, Google, Netflix, and are now monetize human attention as their primary business model. Marxist analysis and the four alienations. So Wang's study shows that digital platforms reproduce all four forms of alienation. The first is alienation from the product. For instance, you post on Instagram, and Instagram owns the data rights, and it sells the targeted ads to the consumers, and after that you get nothing. So it becomes one type of alienation from the product. The second is alienation from the process. So scrolling feels like the leisure work and work we do in our free times, and masking its productive nature. So Farenon shows how platform labor operates through surveillance, and we don't control the algorithms, metrics, policy changes, and interface designs or data usage. Third is alienation from species being. So in that labor should express creativity, but capitalism reduces it to survival. So, fourth is alienation from other humans. That is relationships become competitive through follower counts, and transactional through engagement ports, surveilled every interaction monitored, and precocious about precocious sorry precarious because platform controls everything. Emotional labor. So in this here I have taken the Hochstild's study that shows how service workers manages emotions for wages, and surface acting and deep acting. The architecture of extraction. Here this slides shows that how do platforms engineer this extraction, and what are the mechanisms working behind it. So these are the case studies of TikTok, Instagram influencer economy, mental health crisis in today's era, uh, that is evolving every day, and platform inequality. So resistance and contradictions. There is, we can say, there is a resistance that individual actions like digital detox and app deletion, and the contradictions like authenticity versus optimization, engagement versus well-being. The third is creator dependence and attention degradation. So Raymond Williams believed that culture could serve human flourishing, not elite interests. And can digital technology do the same? That depends on the political struggle behind it. So synthesis. Williams and Marx together, if we see that they reveal the scroll is simultaneously leisure and labor, and connection and isolation, expression and performance, and free activity and commodity also. So conclusion. So this the analysis exposes how digital capitalism commodifies not only material labor but also immaterial dimensions of human existence, like time, attention, emotion, and cognition. So within this regime, the user's engagement is continuously harvested, monitored, and monetized. The users become simultaneously consumer, producer, and commodity, participating in a system where leisure and labor are indistinguishable. So, however, cultural studies invites dialectical reading that recognizes potential for critique and agency by re-engaging Williams' belief in a culture as a site of democratic negotiation, and Marx's vision of unalienated labor. We may envision possibilities for reclaiming digital spaces for collective creativity and critical consciousness. So this slide says why this study matters and my learning outcomes. These are my references, and thank you so much. Now you feel free to ask questions.
My question is how does cultural studies help to understand digital capitalism?
Cultural studies views everyday activities as deeply shaped by power and ideology, and it helps reveal how ordinary digital practices like scrolling, liking, and sharing functions as mechanisms through which capitalism reproduces itself.
So my question is, what is meant by commodification of attention?
So, commodification of attention refers to how our focus, our time, and our emotions online are turned into economic values, and social media platforms profits by selling user engagement data to as advertisements and other things. So this was from my side, and thank you so much.
So, hello everyone. Today I am going to present digital culture between technological determinism and human agency. So, these are my personal information, table of contents. And my research question, that how does digital culture negotiate the tension between technological determinism and human agency, and to what extent can performativity serve as a site of resistance within a network and algorithmic system of power? So my hypothesis is that digital culture is a paradoxical space that stimulously enables and constrains human agency, while technological infrastructure shape performativity and cultural production. Human creativity and collective resistance persist within and against these systems through performative, networked, and critical practices. Then introduction, that digital culture is a new way that we experiencing life with technology. So also digital culture is not just about screens or technology. It represents a new way of experiencing life with through creative, rational, relational, and networked interactions. So here we can see that is a critic like a liquor, skipper and bayes argues that digital cultures are performative, reshaping what performance and identity means in a techno social world of constant visibility and algorithmic mediation. Then we have introduction, what is digital culture? So here we can see defining the terrain, that digital culture encompasses far more than a website, social media, or digital devices. It represents a new way of seeing experience with technology as a creative, open, and relational. And it's per my point of view that digital culture is a fundamentally paradoxical, simultaneously enabling and constraining, liberating, and controlling democratic and authoritarian. Then performativity and digital culture. So digital culture is tied with deeply tied with performativity, that the way we act, the way we present ourselves, and also that interact in society. So that is the main point about that. Then the techno social engagement. So here we can see the critic argues that the ubiquity and pervasiveness of digital media and their networked infrastructure profoundly influence the ways and style in which performativity appear and is enacted. So here we can see critical insights that digital cultures are performative cultures. They condition and are shaped by techno-social processes and agencies, and they afford new possibilities for performative practices and interventions. So here I strongly agree with this framework that digital culture doesn't just mediate our performance, it fundamentally reshape what performance means. And I consider that social media is a perpetual self performance, algorithmic curation of identity, and the collapse of backstage, front stage, and distinctions. And the problem of technological determinism. So here Menowitz failed promise, like Menowitz's idea of this uh, 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 yeah, here we can see that in Hessen article, in which we can find that idea of transcoding, that nothing, it treats culture as a inert and secondary to technology, reading the predictive value of his theory. Here, Menowitz claimed that digital represent the shift of all of our culture to computer mediate forms of production and distribution and communication. So here I agree with essence critics, and Menowitz technological evolutions ignores that power structures, economic imperatives, human resistance and adaptation, and the difference between technological possibilities and social reality. Then consumer culture in the digital age. So here we can see the term consumer is not now a misnomer, and we are not consuming digital service, we are being consumed by them. So here we can see that
consumer is not just buying a product, but they are also being consumed themselves through their data. So that is also main point here we can find. And digital culture, so in this we can see that Strifes, that algorithms are becoming decisive, and companies like Amazon, Google, and Facebook are fast becoming the new apostles of culture. And also behavioral modification, predictive profiling, and effective capitalism. So here I partly agree, but would add that digital culture creates a new form of prosumer labor where users actively produce value through data generation. Then the network paradigm. So here we can see beyond binary opposition, that here Lavender argues that digital culture operates not through simple binaries, but through networks where terms and counter terms engage in fluid imbrication. So here we can see that access interact with gatekeeping, and agency with automation, embodiment with disembodiment, globalism with localism, and presence with absence, and liveness with archive. So here Castells says that a network has no center, just nodes. The network is the unit, not the node. So here Castaway said that network is not an individual node, but central. So and it's also systematic interdependence. And here I agree, this network model is more sophisticated than binary thinking, but question whether it adequately accounts for power asymmetries within networks. Then the trouble with digital culture. So Cormod is warning that that one of the problems with studying any medium is that it's too easy to mistake the part for the whole. And here we can see the critical point. So digital culture far exceeds the World Wide Web, social networks, and ebooks, and image archive, and games, emails, and programming codes. So it accessed anything we see on our laptops, phones, or television screens. So here I agree, strongly agree. We often debate digital versus analog, when the real conflict is between different vision of digital culture, corporate versus commons, extractive versus generative, and controlling versus inability. So the politics of digital culture. So here we can see from critique to action. So here Licker argues that digital culture offers a twofold agenda of critique, that to investigate the intricate relation of power and performativity, and to insist on the openness and challengeability that is immanent to performative process. And here are some questions of power and possibilities for resistance. Here we can see towards a critical digital culture studies. So here synthesis and proposition that what I accept, that digital culture represent a fundamental transformation in how performativity operates, creativity, new techno-social formation. Then critical frameworks 5 tension. Here I put that technological affordance versus social practice, corporation platform versus digital commons, and algorithmic governance versus human judgment, and individual empowerment versus collective surveillance, and global connection versus local context. Then the question of culture, that what culture, digital culture does to culture. That here William defined culture as a ordinary, and the making of a society is the finding of common meaning and direction. And here we can see that the text, that if culture is how we collectively make meaning, and if that process is increasingly automated and outsourced to platforms and shaped by profit maximizing algorithms, then we are losing the capacity for authentic culture making. And here, but the performativity reminds us of openness and changeability. Then conclusion beyond optimism and pessimism. So
I reject techno optimism that digital tools will automatically democratize and liberate, and techno pessimism also. And I propose that critical digital engagement, understanding how digital culture operates so we can intervene effectively. So here, final thoughts that we must pursue both trajectories, that to investigate the intricate relation of power and performativity. Then conclusion, digital culture is performative and political arena that both liberates and disciplines human agency. And here we can see digital culture is not an invisible future, but a struggle field present, where automation meets autonomy, and control meets creativity. So these are my references. Now, if you have any question.
So my question is, what role does the network paradigm play in rethinking digital culture?
Yeah. Yes, I earlier mentioned also that Lavender, this shift from this, we can find that simple opposition to this network perspectives, and showing that access, identity, and this agency is interconnected. And also in Castell's emphasis that this network is not an individual node, but it's a central, and it's also highlighting that systematic interdependence. But yet this corporation still control data, and hidden power, this instability persists in digital networks. So that is the point.
So my question is, what are the 5 critical tensions that defines digital culture today?
So yes, as I earlier mentioned also, that digital culture is full of tension between this technology's power and human choices. That we can see that corporation control and community, this openness, then freedom and surveillance, and also this automation and human ethics, and this global reach, and this local reading. So this contrast shows that digital culture is a dynamic struggle, and shaped by this ongoing negotiation, but not harmony. So that is the question answer. Thank you so much.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Today's my presentation topic is analyze production and consumption of the culture, media, fashion, music, and social media. These are my personal information, table of content, research question. To what extent does the creatization of the content of a creation on social media platform influence the diversity and the curriculation of the cultural content? Hypothesis: the rise of a user generated content of a platform like a YouTube, TikTok leads to wider range of the cultural experience being the produced and the curriculated, challenging in the dominance of the traditional media gatekeepers. Introduction: the study of analyze the interact the relationship between the cultural production and the consumption, exploring how media, fashion, music, and social media shape the reflect social values. A key of the analytic lens for this is the cultural industries thesis developed by Theodore Adorn and the Max my which the critics how mass media and the commercialized culture and the produced for the profit, fostering for conformity and the passive consumption. The model, however, has been the profoundly the transformed by modern technology and the particular that interact and the social media platforms will technology has improved individuals by democratizing context creation and the description. It has also as a trait as the commercialization of the culture and created new challenges. Digital platform now enable a rapid of a virtual spread to cultural trend, but simultaneous of the foster echo of the chambers and the fragmented media landscape. Therefore, understanding contemporary culture dynamic requires an analytic that balance the enduring the critical theories of media with the powerful and the often destructive influence of digital technology. Media production and the conception in the digital age. First is the demo creation of the content creation. The rise of the platform like YouTube and TikTok has a decommercialized content of the creation, empower and anyone is the internet access to become a creator. This digital space is a remove a traditional barriers, allowing individual to share ideas, showcase and talents and the build audience without need the professional studio or media banking. Second is a new form of a production and the distribution. The shift from a traditional media to digital production has a transform how culture is created, and the shared digital tools and platform allow faster, more flexible context creation, bypassing the traditional gatekeepers like a studio and publishers. This a change enable diverse voice to produce and curricular culture global influencing trends and expanding access to new forms of the experience. Third is the social media and the ad consumption. Social media and consumption. Social media platform like Instagram have become a powerful tool of engagement of influence. Individuals use them to express themselves, build communities and shape personal identity. Will brands leverage issue visual context and interactive features to content with audience, promote product and drive culture trend. Fashion, the intersection of the media and the consumerism. Social media's influence on fashion. Social media has become a major force in shaping fashion trends, with the influencer using platform like Instagram and TikTok to showcase style and inspire purchase their content and personal branding. Often drive consumer interest, making digital platforms key space for trend settings and a fashion market. Second is a fast fashion and consume the behavior. Fast fashion is a drive by economic affordability and the cultural demand for constantly changing style. Brand produce trendy clothing quick and cheaply, encouraging frequent purchasing and short-term use. Social media and the celebrity influence fuel this cycle, shaping the consumer behavior around the instant gratification and the visual appeal. Third is a fashion as the cultural industry. Individual and brands use to platform like Instagram to content with the audience through the visual storytelling, interactive features and the curated content. By sharing posts, stories and the reels, they influence consume the behavior, shape trend and build loyal communities around personal identities or brand values. Music evolution of a production and distribution. First is a digital musical platform. Digital musical platform streaming service like a Spotify have transformed the music industry, be changing how music is produced, distributed, and discovered. Artists now create tracks optimism for a digital algorithms and the playlist often favoring of the shorter formats and the catch inters. Distribution is the instant and the global by pacing traditional gatekeeper like a radio and the record labels. Spotify personalized recommendation, the curated playlist help a listener discover new music, making data and the engagement center to shaping musical trend. Second is a viral music trend like a TikTok have become a powerful agents for a viral music trend, enabling song to shape rapidly through user generated content to challenge short videos, features catchy hooks or dance routines for a proper unknown tracks into a global hits, giving the artist instant expose and reshaping how music gains popularity in the digital age. Third is the music industry ecosystem. The music industry today is the connect network of artist label and the digital platform. They work together to produce, promote, and the distribute music using the data and engagement to reach global audience quickly and effectively. Social media, the new engaging of culture change, culture integration, and the challenges. The role of the social media and integrating or completing cultural value and the interactions in a globalized world. Second is the personal identity and the social media, how users negative and construct their identities through content consumption and the interaction with the brand. Third is the semiotic analysis of a digital media, interpreting the symbolic sign and the meaning produced and the consumed on the social media platform. In a conclusion, technology, especially social media, has fundamentally changed the relationship between the cultural production and the consumption, shifting power away from traditional gatekeepers toward a more decentralized user-driven landscape. However, is a democratization also accelerates commercialization and creates a fragmented experience, reinforcing in the consumer's role within the new economic model. The future will be shaped by emerging technology like AI, VR, and the metaverse, which will further personalize context and create a new impressive space for culture consumption. These trends demand a continuous critical analysis to understand the complex social and economic impacts of the evolving cultural terrain. These are my reference. Thank you. If you have any question.
Shatakshi, my question for you is what key similarities and
Put that mic on. Take this. Now it is on.
Fashion influence focus on like a look, style, and music influencer look like a feeling. But both social medias to what people like and what people like. Next.
Satakshi, my question is that how has social media contributed to both democratization and fragmentation of culture?
So social media allow people to share ideas to both professional people to the group. So thank you.
Hello. Hello. Just a minute. Share afterwards. You can keep it open, but
Yes.
don't share. So these are your citations, Shatakshi. Yesterday I told you, no, that you are the only one who is not citing according to MLA, but you told you are doing it. But this is what we are seeing now. Is it MLA? Huh? It means you don't know. શું કહેવામાં આવે છે ખબર જ ન હોય તો આપણે ક્યાંથી શીખવાના છે? તો અત્યારે કેમ આમ છે? Is it not yours? Huh? This is how you have done. This is how it was done. Are you understanding what is MLA citation? તો આ એ છે, એ પ્રમાણે છે આ. Whatever you are doing it, what comes in MLA citation? Can you tell anything? What way it comes? Can you tell? Like surname of somebody, comma, name, alphabetical order. Are you aware about any of those things in MLA style citation? Is there anybody's name visible there? Forget last name, first name, any name is visible? Alphabetical order is visible? Huh? So then how come it is MLA? Forget 8, 9, 10, any MLA, any style, citation style you say. It means you don't know only what is MLA. Yet you are not agreeing with that you know, it is visible there. Yesterday also I told, but then I told that I don't want to show it right now. I thought you will correct it in the next one, but today also you came with the same, and yet you are not agreeing. You are still saying that you have done. And this is what I am displaying here. તો નજર સામે છે તોય તમે સ્વીકારતા નથી. આપણે આજે ડિજિટલ સ્પેસમાં બધું જોઈએ છે ને, વાતો કરીએ છે ને, કે આમાં શું સાચું શું ખોટું, એટલે બધું સામે દેખાડવું પડે, રિયલ શું છે. You are seeing real, yet you are not agreeing કે આ ભૂલ છે આમાં. આનું તો કોઈ નિરાકરણ જ નથી. આમાં બોદ્રીલાર્ડ આવે કે ડિબોર્ગ આવે સ્પેક્ટેકલમાં, કાંઈ જ ન કરી શક્યા. This is very deep intermental problem. કે આપણને સમજ જ નથી શું છે આ, તો આમાં કેમ આપણે શીખી શકીએ? લર્નિંગ ક્યારે થાય? જ્યારે ખબર પડે કે મારાથી ભૂલ થાય છે. You say you are not committing mistake, so તો શીખાય જ કેમ? You are telling you are not committing mistake. So how can you learn? You don't agree that it is a mistake. તમે એ જ ન સ્વીકારો કે આ મારી ભૂલ છે, તો શીખી જ કેમ શકાય? Are you getting the point? શીખવા માટે શું જોઈએ? પહેલા આપણને ખ્યાલ આવે કે હા બરાબર, આ મને સમજાતું નથી, આ મને આવડતું નથી, આ મારી ભૂલ છે. એ કોઈ સ્વીકારે તો જ શીખી શકે. નહીં તો તમે ઊંધે માથે થઈ જાવ તો કોઈને શીખવાડી ન શકો. જેને એમ હોય કે આઈ નો એવરીથિંગ, મને બધું આવડે, MBA થઈ ગયા હોય બધા, એને તમે કશું જ ન શીખવાડી શકો. Getting the point? So that is the thing, that you say I know everything, but you don't know. That's why I told કે કોઈને પૂછી લો આજુબાજુમાં કે ભાઈ આ મને ટકોર કરી હતી તો શું એમાં કઈ છે, બરાબર નથી, આમાં શું વાંધો છે? કોઈને પૂછી લેવાય ને આપણે આજુબાજુમાં કે તમારું કેવું છે, મારું કેમ છે, લાવો કમ્પેર કરીએ. These are all ways to learn. આ બધી શીખવાના તરીકાઓ છે. આપણે કમ્પેર કરી લઈએ, પૂછી લઈએ, જોઈ લઈએ. પણ આવું કાંઈ જ આપણે ન કરીએ, બધાથી એકદમ અલિપ્ત દુનિયામાં રહીએ, તો પછી ન થયા કશું જ. એબસન્ટ જ રહીએ કોન્સ્ટન્ટલી, ખાલી ક્યારેક આવીને સહી કરીને ચાલતા, પાછા ભાગતા. Then you don't connect with people, you don't learn anything.
Hello everyone, I am Tanvi Mehra. My today's presentation topic is revisiting the canon, cultural studies, approaches to Shakespeare and Shelley in the age of popular culture. These are my academic information, table of content and research question. How have contemporary popular culture adaptation and reinterpretation of Shakespeare and Shelley reshaped their canonical status, and what does this reveal about the cultural function of the literary canon in the 21st century? And a hypothesis: popular culture adaptation of Shakespeare and Shelley do not merely replicate their canonical authority, but actively contextualize their works to reflect contemporary socio-political issues such as race, gender, and post-colonial identity. Then introduction: why revisit the canon? When we talk about the literary canon, it was traditionally seen as representing some sort of universal truth, the best of literature, timeless ideas that everyone should read. But cultural studies challenges this idea. It reminds us that this so-called universal truth were actually shaped by those in power. Historically, this meant that women, colonized peoples, and marginalized groups were often excluded from the canon. By revisiting the canon, we start to uncover this silence. We can see whose voice were left out and why. And this opens up space for new perspectives. Jo Hornby, in her work canonicity, who decides who is in and who is out, points out that the canon is always a product of choices, decisions about what gets included and what gets excluded. So looking back at the canon isn't just an academic exercise, it's also a social and political act, because it helps us question power structures and think critically about whose voices matter in literature. Cultural studies framework. Cultural studies is all about how text, audience, and ideology interact. Stuart Hall's encoding and decoding model tells us that meaning is not just what the author intended. It's created actively by the audience. That means every reader, viewer, or fan interpret a text in their own way. Douglas Kellner explained that media now plays a big role in shaping how literature is understood. When we apply this to Shakespeare and Shelley, we see that their works aren't just in books anymore. They circulate in films, memes, online fun communities, and social media. This allows the audience to reinterpret the works to make meaning themselves rather than just accepting a fixed interpretation. In this way, literature becomes a part of everyday life and popular culture, not just academic classrooms. Then Shakespeare in popular culture. Shakespeare's influence has gone far beyond the printed page. His plays have been adapted into films, television shows, memes, advertisement, and even music videos. A famous example is Baz Luhrmann Romeo and Juliet, which puts the classic story in a modern urban setting. and Disney's The Lion King, which is based on Hamlet. According to Douglas Lanier, Shakespeare functions both as a cultural and capital and as a commercial commodity. Richard Butt adds that in the digital age, media transforms Shakespeare into a shared social icon that everyone can engage with. This popular version also break down elitist authority, blending environment with a serious critique. Through this adaptation, Shakespeare connects with audience across the globe, showing how flexible and enduring his works era. Then Shelley in popular culture. Percy Bysshe Shelley's radical vision is still very relevant today. Poems like Ode to the West and The Mask of Anarchy speak to ideas of freedom, equality, and social justice. Stuart Curran points out that Shelley's romantic idealism is not just poetry on paper, it's a living political language. Mellor links Shelley's revolutionary ideas to democratic values and anti-imperial struggles. Today, his words appear on protest banners, in music, and on social media, showing that his poetry has become a tool for activism. And Tyler also emphasizes that Shelley's rebellious language now function globally to inspire collective resistance. This shows that Shelley's work are not static literary artifacts but active cultural resources for empowerment and change. Then intersections of canon, power, and popular media. The literary canon isn't a fixed set of works, it's a constant space influenced by culture, media, and ideology. Catherine Bell C. reminds us that meaning comes from discourse, not just what the author intended. When we look at Shakespeare and Shelley, we see that elite and popular culture overlap. Anya Lumba points out that canon formation historically reflects colonial and patriarchal power structures. Today, these works are remade in memes, films, and protest movements, blurring the lines between high and low culture. Douglas Lanier explained that popular appropriation actually help keep the canon alive by giving it new something we read in class. It becomes a part of a live cultural experience. And the conclusion, the future of canonical studies. In today's digital world, the canon is not static, it's dynamic and dialogic. Shakespeare and Shelley continue to influence culture because they are constantly reimagined, not because they are inherently timeless. Scholars like Lumba and Kellner show that cultural studies gives us tools to look at these works in new ways. Their reinterpretations encourage a plural and inclusive understanding of culture, invite all voices into the conversation. The future of canonical studies with involve remix culture, memes, and digital reinterpretation, making literature interactive and social engage. Revisiting the canon is therefore essential to understanding how literature value involves in modern society. So these are my references, and if you have any question, please ask.
My question is that the canon often excluded marginalized voice. Can you give a recent example in today's literary or media world where this is being addressed?
Yes, nowadays more women, Dalit people, and some post-colonial writers being included in literature. For example, JCB Prize 2024 highlighted underrepresented authors and companions like hashtag their own voice and it help marginalized writers share their own stories.
You have to connect them. This next one can.
Okay, so good evening everybody. This is Rajdeep Bawlia and today I am going to present on the topic Cultural Studies in the White Tiger, Power, Identity and the Rooster Coop. Here are my academic details and presentation details. Table of contents. Introduction. So Arvind Adiga uses power structures to shape identity. The rooster coop symbolizes systematic operation and Balram negotiates both escape and moral complicity. And Balram Halwa is a complicated man, a servant, philosopher, entrepreneur, murderer. So Adiga highlights that the greatest thing to come out of this country is the rooster coop. So Adiga links larger social structures to personal choices through Balram's story. Here is my research question: that to what extent does Balram Halwai's escape dismantle the rooster group versus reproduce its structures through individual morally compromised success, with the hypothesis that the rooster group operates through internalized consent and institutional corruption. So Balram's ascent exposes those mechanisms while reproducing them through necessary moral compromise. Here are my literature review slides. So defining key terms. So we have already studied in our two books by Pramod K. Nayak and Gurin, etc. all. So what this reading will show. So the novel frames a society as two groups. First is those who eat and those who get eaten. So it shows that Adiga writes in his novel that men with big bellies and men with small bellies eat or get eaten up. And power works through consent and coercion. Servants adopt the worldview of the ruling class. So escape requires moral ruptures. Only a man who is prepared to see his family destroyed can break out of the coup. So in these powers, family and village ties act as additional controls, and while Balram's voice stands for the exploited and overlooked. Here class and caste everyday marginalization. So Adiga highlights that the story of a poor man's life is written on his body in a sharp man. So poverty and caste level visible marks that limit life chances and mobility. And there are just two castes, men with big bellies and men with small bellies. And as Aslavat highlights that he is in a real sense a voice of slum dwellers, poor peasants and exploited class. And so this family and village ties, as we have discussed, that obligations function and as a second case, enforcing servitable through loyalty and shame. So here, economic power and corruption. So employers bribe foreign ministers for tax breaks, and the rich run politics as a racket. And Balram's employers treat servants as economical tools, and trustworthiness of servants is said to be the basis of the entire Indian economy. So wealth buys political influence and legal impunity, turning public institutions into instruments of patronage. As Hubert highlights that techno-capitalism provides the only clear route to self-improvement for Balram. And Balram's entrepreneurship depends on stealing, bribing, and defecting from moral law. And institutional power, law, state, and police. So courts, police, and local elites collide to reproduce inequality rather than deliver justice. And official symbols and networks mask as a wrongdoing and make legal protection unavailable to the poor. And the rooster poop, close reading of the metaphor. Adiga highlights that the greatest thing to come out of this country is the rooster group. So the rooster group visualizes internalized servitude. People see danger but do not rebel, and roosters smell the blood of their brothers. No, they are next, yet do not rebel. The coop is guarded from the inside. So servants police one another to preserve the system. So the metaphor combines physical exploitation with psychological control. Then Balram's identity, names, transformation, and ambiguity. So Balram calls his life as the autobiography of a half-baked Indian. So Balram remakes himself through various names, that Munna, Balram, White Tiger, and taking Ashok Sharma as a brand. So these roles and entrepreneurial practice showing identity as a performance. And as Yubat highlights that Balram's actions are neither totally blameless and nor unequally condemnable. As Adiga also highlights that I will say it was all worthwhile to know just for a day and what it means not to be a servant. Then symbolism, darkness versus light, village versus city, and car and road. So the village as darkness and city as light map onto different forms of constraints and opportunity. And object like cars and roads symbolize mobility. That is also a new form of exposure to capitalist control. Then theoretical frames, hegemony, ideology, and subaltern. So Gramsci and Foucault and Althusser help explain why domination feels natural and how institutions reproduce consent. And the subaltern question asks whether Balram speaks for a class or only for himself. Then comparisons, techno-capitalism and global context. So Yubat asserts that techno-capitalism provides the only clear route to self-improvement for Balram. And Balram's metamorphosis into white tiger represents the brutality of a globalized society. So globalization and tech reshape class mobility but deepen inequality. And Balram's path mirrors neoliberal individualism. Conclusion that power is produced through institutions, ideology, and everyday acts. And the rooster coup makes that visible. And Balram's story complicates notions of freedom by showing gain tied to moral sacrifice. So the text pushes readers to ask whether justice here is personal, social, or both. Here are my learning outcomes, references. Okay, thank you everyone. Now if you have any questions.
Radip, my question is what parallels exist between Balram's strategies and modern gig economy labor practices in India?
So both of them features like dangerous and peace rate type of works that pushes risk onto individual worker, and while also promoting or promising freedom and flexibility. So and also self branding, hustle, and improvisations are common survival techniques in both contexts. So the result is uh, individual uplift for a few, but persistent structural vulnerability for most.
So my question for you, does Adigas used to satire and dark humor reinforce or undermine political critique?
So satire and dark humor sharpen the novel's political critique by making injustice more visible and memorable. For some readers, these satirical jokes were they show it as a fierce, moral indecent, and are provoked to think and act. While for other readers who are unaware of background or political history, for them they might also miss the true critique of the satire and dark humor, and they may also solely focus on the entertainment part. So it depends on the reader's background and attention. Okay, thank you everyone.
Mm. So, hello everybody. Today we are going to discuss about American multiculturalism in Jhampa Lahiri's The Namesake novel. This is my personal information. Then, scope of the study. The study focus on Jhampa Lahiri's The Namesake as a literary reflection of American multiculturalism. Research question: how does Jhampa Lahiri's The Namesake explore the complexities of American multiculturalism through the intertwined theme of identity, cultural hybridities, and the immigrant search for belonging across generations? Hypothesis: Jhampa Lahiri's The Namesake suggests that American multiculturalism, while promoting cultural diversity and inclusion, also generates emotional dislocation and fragmented identities among immigrants. Through the Ganguly family's experience, Lahiri reveals that the search for belonging in a multicultural world requires balancing inherited traditions with adopted value, ultimately leading to self realization through acceptance of cultural hybridities. Introduction. Jhampa Lahiri's written a great novel, The Namesake, which explored the identity, belonging, and transnationalism through the experience of Ganguly's family. Which in that novel, Ganguly families belong from India, from West Bengal, and go towards transform in England. So the novel serves as a literary lens. If we see, so American multiculturalism is explored by this novel. And it's also portraying the coexistence of diverse culture and the negotiation between heritage and assimilation on a multicultural society. So in that novel, Lahiri illustrates both the opportunities and challenges of cultural hybridities, the blending of Indian traditions with American norms, the generational tension, and the emotional complexity faced by immigrants in balancing inherent values with adopted culture practice. So, first, what is the American multiculturalism? So, multiculturalism means so many culture is living together in one society. So, in inventions, a society where multiple if we saw multiculturalism means it's also imagine that multiculturalism imagine of that type culture which where so many identities and cultural living in one society in that dominant culture. So in the namesake in the namesake novel, author it's also properly we can say describe multiculturalism through the Ganguly family, where Ashok and Ashima, two characters, transform from the we can say come to England from the America, India. So while Gangol and Gogol and Sonia, he's a children of them, and he raised and born in the American lifestyle. Furthermore, Lahiri also explored that how multiculturalism impact emotional and generational dynamics. First generations, immigrants often experience nostalgia, alienation, and cultural dislocation. While if we see second generation, see it's also immigrants. We can say wrestle with hyphenated identities and a search for belonging. So immigrants experience and cultural hybridities. So two generations is described here.
first generations Ashok and Ashima, who come from the India. So they face the so many challenges of cultural displacement, balancing nostalgia for India with the need to adapt to American society. So they also live in American norms, and they also want to stay with own Indian culture. And then second generation, Gogol and Sonia, who born and rise in the US, so are largely rooted in American culture and often feel detached from Bengali customs. So their hybrid identities represent the tension between heritage and assimilation, a common feature of multicultural societies. So hybridities, Lahiri illustrated here that hybrid identities, where Indian traditions and American lifestyle coexist, creating individuals who navigate multiple cultural realities. These hybrid identities highlight the negotiation of belonging, selfhood, and cultural expression within a multicultural framework. The symbolism of the name. So we also know that Namesake, it's also movie make on this novel in 2006. So symbolism of the name, cultural conflict and identity crisis. So in this novel, Gogol named son of the Ashok, he don't like own name. So his name symbolized the tension between his Indian heritage and American identity. It's also reflect his struggle within assimilation and self-acceptation. Dual heritage. So this name connect him to both Russian and Indian roots, which highlighted the challenges of navigating multiple cultural identities in the these are multicultural societies. So in the past, his father Ashok, he's also we can say he keep the name of give the name his son as a Gogol. Because his past event is also connected with this book, Nikolai Gogol's book. So and he also saved from this book. So he decided that he will put the name of son is a Gogol, but Gogols don't like his name. So where his reconciliation and acceptance. So when Gogol know about his father's past, so he accept the own identity, which describe the hybridity of multicultural self. Cultural identity and belonging, and where we see a character Ashima. So he described that being a foreigner as a sort of lifelong pregnancy. Then where Gogol's search for identity reflect his Indian American hyphenated identities. So multiculturalism provide diversity, but it's also lead to emotional fragmentation as the character reconcile multiple cultural identities. Then conclusion. Jampa Lahiri's The Namesake explore the complexity of American multiculturalism, revealing both its beauty and its burdens. Through the experience of the Ganguly family, the novel illustrates how immigrants balance heritage and adaptations, creating hybridity identities that navigate between Indian traditions and American culture. First generation is also immigrants experience nostalgia and cultural displacement, while second generation children face the challenges of reconciling hyperconnected identities with the desire for belongings. Ultimately, Lahiri suggests that true belonging arises from self-acceptance and reconciliations of dual cultural identities rather than complete assimilation.
Here is the references. Have any questions? So please ask.
Okay, so my question is, what personal experiences of Jhumpa Lahiri influence the story and themes of the namesake?
Yes, Jhumpa Lahiri was born in London, but his father was belong from West Bengal, Kolkata. So if we see in the this novel Namesake, so he's if we see children like daughter of Ashok, so she present here, and it's very speciality that how he see multiple we can say multiple side from his parents side and his own side as a children. So he also personally connected with, because he feel the identity problems in London also, when he go to India. So when that time it's also he feel like we can say not uncomfortable, like a foreigner country of he believe Indian India is as a foreigner country. So it's connected with his personal life also. Next, anyone?
Krishna, my question is, how does Lahiri use the Ganguly family to critique or reflect on the limitation of American multiculturalism?
Yes, in the namesake, if we see American multiculturalism is a very good, but it's we can say important for our growth of capability and opportunities and diversity also. But if we see other side, so both generation of this novel is issue of identities, and if we see for first generation, so first generations also try to stay on Indian culture, and second generation is also try to he also live with American norms. So sometimes it's the limitations he's come here, that identities issues, and then complexity of norms, and we can say other limitations like issue of proper identity, because the second generation it's also not fully explained that he was a Indian Indian child or American child. So that kind of limitations is here. That. So thank you everyone. This from my side.
Good evening, everyone. Today, my presentation topic is contact zones and culture encounter in post-colonial urban space. This is my personal information, table of content, and my research question is how do post-colonial urban space throughout architecture, public space, and everyday encounter mediate culture, negotiation, power, relation, and hybrid identity formation. And my hypothesis is post-colonial cities operate as an active contact zone where spatial design, architecture, and micro encounter reflect the shape, power dynamics, and hybrid culture identities. The layering of colonial, vernacular, and global influence produce site of negotiation, resistance, and cultural hybridity observable in both physical and digital urban space. Introduction. In post-colonial urban setting, cities function as a contact zone, space where multiple culture, histories, and power dynamics meet and negotiate. Drawing on Pett's concept, urban environment are not a neutral backdrop, but active site where migration, language, media class, and public space interact to produce hybrid identities. Everyday encounter on a street, in homes, in a built environment reflect and reshape culture power relation. The central question is, how do post-colonial cities manifest power, culture, negotiation, and identity throughout everyday encounter? The city can be read as a constructed text with a layer of memory, resistance, and translation inscribed onto urban space. Core theory. Pratt's art of the context zone conceptualize context zones as a cultural meeting space under the aristotle power. She introduced the orthography text where a marginalized voice speak back, showing how encounter are site of miscommunication, resistance, and transition. In urban context, market, neighborhoods, transit hubs, and public sphere act as areas of conception. The city become a performative historical injustice. Language and identity are continuously negotiated and displayed. Contemporary evolution of Pratt. Kim revisit the Pratt's theory in light of digital culture, globalization, and transitional network, showing that a context zone now extend beyond a physical space into virtual and dystopian context. For cities, Kim insight reveals how social media, migration flows, and global culture circuits reshape urban context zone, local and global boundaries blur, making post-colonial identity and negotiation multi-scalar and fluid. Architecture is a context zone. Uh, uh, argue that architecture is itself is a context zone where building, planning, and exhibition act as a site of a cultural negotiation. Architecture reflect across and cultural exchange, power struggle, and hybrid production rather than being merely aesthetic. In post-colonial cities, hybrid style vernacular and colonial global reveals tension over which histories and aesthetics are made visible with momentums and structure become a flashpoint of for contexted memory. Urban geography and post-colonialism. Domage applies a post-colonial critique to U.S. Cities, showing that even without formal colonization, urban space reflect a global power logical. In post-colonial cities, maps, planning, and symbolic architecture act as a archive and inequality and cultural hierarchy. The urban landscape itself become a document of power relation, where spatial organization mirrors social, political, and economic dominance across the communities. Microspace of encounter. Fenster examines home is a lift, Jerusalem, and as a micro context zone, showing how domestic space mediates memory, law, identity, and political conflict. Even the imminent is shaped by wider social and political tension. Architecture features furniture, placement, and even walls become carriers of memory and cultural negotiation. This underscores that context zone exist inside homes, wall, room, and threshold episode macro political struggle, turning private space into areas of negotiation. Cultural hybridity in urban literature. Omibhaga introduced hybridity and the third space, as, where identity emerged in ambivalent in a between zone. Colonial subject never fully azimuthal or resist, they exist in ambivalence. Urban fiction mirrored this, portraying cities as a narrative context zone where a character navigate a multiple cultural logic. Novel set in cities map cultural negotiation. Character mediate language, memory, dystopia, and power in dynamic urban space. The city act as an active agent of identity, not just a backdrop. Conclusion. Post-colonial cities are living context zone where power, culture, and identity constantly interact. A street, a neighborhood, a momentum, and a home carry a layered historical of colonial influence, migration, and resistance. Article and architecture and urban space reflect tension blending local, colonial, and global style, while everyday encounters shape hybrid identities. Emerging the technology like smart cities and augmented reality extend these context zones into digital and hybrid space, making urban environment a dynamic arena for ongoing negotiation, memory, and cultural transformation. This is my reference, and thank you, everyone. If you have any question, feel free to ask.
So my question is, how do digital urban interventions like AR, VR, or smart city technologies create new contact zones in post-colonial cities?
Digital tool like AR, VR, and smart city, they add a virtual layer to real city, letting letting people explore culture, history, and local story in the new way. Digital space create a new space where power, identity, and memories are a negotiation.
So, Sagar, my question is that how do informal or illegal statements function as a post-colonial contact zones?
Informal settlement may lack official planning, but they are living in a cultural negotiation. These areas become mini context zone where how communities are navigate the power inequality and hybrid identity every day. Thank you, everyone.
Hello everyone. Today I am dealing with the language of justice and equality. So today my goal is that the language of justice and equality, particularly connecting gender and language reform, connects with cultural studies by focusing on how language constructs, maintains, and can dismantle social hierarchies and power dynamics within a society. So academic information, table of contents, and research question. How does the strategic use of gender inclusive and gender neutral language within international policy frameworks and the national judicial mandate functions as a linguistic instrument of justice, actively transforming gendered power relations and dismantling systematic stereotypes across law, governance, and education, with the hypothesis when language reform becomes an institutionalized mandate as seen in the policies of the UN, UNESCO, and the Supreme Court of India. It not only eliminates overt gender bias, but also reconstructs the ideological foundations of equality and justice. Such deliberate linguistic transformation operates as a catalyst for social change, ensuring that equality is embedded not merely in law or policy, but in the very discourse through which institutions define reality. So I have divided this presentation in three parts. So first, language shapes reality, not just reflects it. So the scientific foundation is gender similarities hypothesis, which debunks the popular difference model, and showing males and females are statistically similar on most psychological traits, and bias is not biological. So linguist Robin Lakoff showed decades ago that the structure of our language already reflects the societal attitudes that women are marginal to serious concerns of life, and the mandate is clear that language must be used to actively challenge these norms, not just reflect them. Then recognizing dismantling bias. So bias operates in our daily lives. We can see in education that studies of Jordanian textbook shows that traditional materials reinforces stereotypes, and proving that simple equality laws are insufficient without linguistic and audit tool. And in the workplace, we can see that Janet Holmes document how everyday gender discourse construct authority and maintaining gender roles regardless of formal policies. This proves we need normalized and actionable rules, which brings us to the UN and UNESCO. So second part is the global policy mandate, UN and UNESCO. So the UN guidelines are the global standard for clarity and inclusion. The mandate three key strategies. First is use non-discriminatory language. So avoid subtle biases. Ensure you refer to both men and women consistently. Then the use of gender neutral words. Replace terms like manpower with staffing, or man-made with artificial or human caused. And then last one is use neutral pronouns and plurals to avoid the generic he. Use plurals like they, or use the relative pronoun who. Then UNESCO's educational and publishing mandates. So UNESCO applies the UN mandate directly to policy and content. The 1999 guidelines on gender neutral language sets that the precedent for eliminating both ambiguity and stereotyping. In 2019, a gender equality guideline for publication introduced the mandatory 5 steps process. This ensure that publications systematically include gender equality consideration. So here are 5 key steps that use sex disaggregated data, analyze sex disaggregated data, and use gender inclusive language, use gender balance images, and use gender specific objectives. Then implementing equality in educational management. So this extends to institutional structure. The IIEP means International Institute for Educational Planning report a matter to right and reason shows that women face a labyrinth, means something which is difficult to navigate, not just a clear path to reach senior leadership in educational management. And linguistic reform must be paired with organizational transformation to ensure women who have power in planning and decision making. And last part is the judicial mandate, law and justice. So then the Supreme Court of India's legal directive. This is the powerful legal application, and in 2023 handbook on combating gender stereotypes makes the rejection of bias a core judicial duty. The court explicitly states that relying on preconceived stereotypes contravenes the duty of judges and inhibits the transformative project of the law. The word used by a judge are an extension of justice itself. Then translating policies into practice in the courtroom. So the handbook's most practical features is the glossary of general unjust terms. It provides direct instruction to replace loaded and judgmental phrases like seductress or woman of a loose moral chapter with neutral and accurate legal terminology like woman or a person. So this ensures legal decisions are grounded in facts and law, not outdated cultural prejudice. So here I want to add something that we should not tell boys don't do household chores, but we should tell that everyone should learn and share household works. And another example which is given by sir, that we should not tell that husband helps his wife in a household works, but we should tell that husband shares work with his wife. And in conclusion, the shift towards gender inclusive language codified by the UN, UNESCO, and the Supreme Court of India reflects a unified global mandate to treat language as a tool of justice. This institutional commitment moves beyond more political correctness, translating the scientific finding of the gender similarities hypothesis into externalable legal and policy directives. By systematically demanding the replacement of biased terminology as seen in the judicial glossary and UNESCO's publishing standards. These institutions ensure that public discourses, education, and the law are actively transformed to challenge stereotypes, uphold the dignity of all individuals, and fulfill the core principle of equality and accountability. So, here is my learning outcome and references. Thank you. Please feel free to ask question.
The question is, have you ever noticed a language at your workplace or a school that assume a different role or abilities based on gender?
Yes. Sometimes we see that boys are always considered as a strong or a leader, but girls are considered as a beautiful, nice, shy. So I have observed this language at our in our school times also, when we are with our friends.
So, Srishti, my question for you. Can everyday language choices in our life make a difference in challenging gender bias?
Yes, if for example, if we use spouse instead of our wife or our husband, and that words which are not we can say that which are not gendered, that kind of words if we use, then we can challenge that this biased. So thank you everyone.
So many of the in presentation you might have seen, all of you, like whatever slides you make, even thank you slide, should be in tune with your presentation. Always the same topic wala is not required. You have to always see that how in what is the basic theme, and everything that you do from the beginning till the end should be in tune with the theme of your presentation. Then you are displaying your sense of art, aesthetic sense, and that also get displayed when you create a presentation there. So you are careful about everything. And many of you might be seeing that every day, but still you don't learn anything. Now, these are the barriers in learning. આપણે જોઈએ આપણા ક્લાસમાંથી જ કોઈ એવું કરતું હોય તો એ આપણે શીખીએ જ નહીં કે હમ નહીં સુધરેંગે, આવું ઘણા માનીને જ બેઠા હોય કે એ સુધરે જ નહીં. હવે એનું કશું જ ન થઈ શકે. ધેટ ઇઝ ધ પ્રોબ્લેમ કે તમે ટીચર ઊંધે માથે પડે તોય એ કઈ સુધારો ન લાવી શકે. મેની ટાઈમ વેન વી ટોક અબાઉટ એજ્યુકેશન, સ્ટુડન્ટ એન્ડ ટીચર, at that time, we always try to be sympathetic to students, learners. કે બિચારા વિદ્યાર્થી એ શું કરે, પણ બિચારા ટીચરો શું કરે? આમ દેખાડે, બેસાડે બધાને કે બેસો, જુઓ, આટલું તો કરે. એટલે ઘોડાને તમે પાણી સુધી લઈ જાઓ, પણ પાણી પીવડાવી ન શકો. મોઢું નાખી દો પોંડમાં તો એ ઘોડો ન પીવે તો ન જ પીવે. ઘોડો હોય તો હજી સમજીએ, ગધેડા હોય તો કાંઈ જ ન થાય. એને તો પાણી સુધી લઈ જવો અઘરો પડે. So when we see the things, we have to keep on learning. That is learning ability. આપણે ડેવલપ કરવી. એટલે કોઈ પણ વસ્તુ ક્યાંય પણ જોઈ, સારી લાગી, તરત ઇમ્પ્લિમેન્ટ થઈ જ જવું જોઈએ. That if we keep it as a practice, then whatever we do in life, જે કંઈ પણ આપણે કરશું એમાં 100% ફરક હશે. લોકો તમને જોઈને તરત કહેશે કે આમાં કંઈક જુદું છે. આ ભાવનગરના હોય એવું લાગતું નથી, આ ક્યાંક બીજેથી આવ્યા હોય એવું લાગે છે, ગુજરાતના હોય એવું લાગતું નથી, કે એમ કોઈને અસર થશે તમારા કામ જોઈને. જો આ રીતે તમે ઇફ યુ કીપ ઓન લર્નિંગ ફ્રોમ સરાઉન્ડિંગ, then
Shall I start?
Good evening, everyone. My today's presentation topic is cultural influence of movies and pop culture on fashion and identity. These are my academic information. These are table of contents and my research question and hypothesis. So, how do different culture industries, Bollywood, Studio Ghibli, and the Korean Wave, influence fashion trends and shape culture identities through their unique mechanism of dissemination? And hypothesis is while the mechanism differ, Bollywood through mass replication of on-screen fashion, Ghibli through aesthetic globalization, and the Korean Wave through digital translation platform. All three industries significantly shape cultural identities by transforming fashion into a medium of cultural expression and global connectivity. So, introduction. In this presentation, I will deal with the. I am dealing with the pop culture. How the society inspired by the movies, dressing up hairstyles of heroines, and then any that series, and nowadays that Ghibli images, and also the Korean dramas all are in nowadays the people are inspired. So in this presentation I am dealing with that. So Bollywood as a historical translator. So my first argument is Bollywood historically acts as a fashion engine, inspiring mass clothing trends and defining generational styles. So here are some 19th movie that first is Mughal-e-Azam, then Brahmachari and Hum Aapke Hai Kaun, and then Bunty and or Bubbly. So in those movies there are some dressing styles and that how the society captures in the recent time also some captures that. So in Madhubala the anarkali suit, in the nowadays also fine, then Mumtaz sari wrap up, and then Madhuri Dixit outfit in the Hum Aapke Hai Kaun movie, and Bunty or Bubbly movie that Rani Mukherjee's Indo-Western look. So here we can find some images of that. Here the anarkali, then Madhuri Dixit and one fan followers, how she follow her dress up styles, and then here Rani Mukherjee, and here one sari dress up. So all are the fan culture we can find that inspired by movies. So in contemporary movies, how the fashion deals in society. So argument is Bollywood use market and celebrity machinery to rapidly convert on-screen styles into off-screen identity maker. So in recent
2023, that Rocky Aur Rani Ki Prem Kahani movie, then in Shersha, the hairstyle of Kiara Advani, and in Rocky Aur Rani Ki Kahani, the sari of Alia Bhatt nowadays also very famous. And there's a famous cycle that helps the economical grow of that market people, and how people bought that. So here, yesterday I found that Kiara Advani's hairstyle and look up in Shersha. So at that time I also find that in Amazon also that, and what the sari name also, but Alia Bhatt Rocky Aur Rani Ki Prem Kahani trendy sari. So that also in Amazon I found that, and how the hairstyle of Kiara Advani. So emergence of studio, there are some pronouns. It origins Ghibli, it from Italy word, and in Japanese they said Ghibli, but in Australian they pronounce Ghibli. So there are 2 or 3 pronouns of that word. So in recent we can find that people use that images. So as sir mentioned in lecture also, its origin from Japan in 1985 by Hayao Miyazaki and Isao Takahata, and produced by Toshio Suzuki. So in that concept they are combined with that Disney partner. They are Disney partner, and they produce that movie and animation. And so recent how that Japan local that become in recent few years global, that in universe. So here are some images. We can find that in Facebook also, Dibrugarh post in it, which is in Assam. So in that post we can find that India is top, and in India the Gujarat is leads with a score of 100 in that Facebook image. So here some movies images, then how the people use that images in, and how the society shaped by it. So Korean wave. So Korean wave in digital era. So nowadays people moving to Korean dramas, Korean movies. Like, and here are the 2 groups. One is BTS, that people follow that hairstyle and makeup, and that Blackpink, it's a female group of Korea, and BTS is male group. So how people inspired by their songs, their hairstyle, and all those things in a few years. So to conclude, I want to say that how Bollywood drive that market-driven trends to society, from that Studio Ghibli to Disneyfication to the Korean waves, and how the media and all the fashion of that movies, culture, the society. These are my references, and thank you. If anyone have question, please ask.
What are your view on how fashion is evolving and improving in people's day-to-day lives?
Yes, Sagar. In recent times, we can find that people follow that pre-wedding, and then in the wedding also, and after that Chhathi Puja. So how the people followed by fashion. So sometimes it become extravagant for us to purchase our money, and how the market become more grow by that all fashion. So sometimes that limits are very high, and where people think that we have to live in our society, our status. So sometimes it become extravagant.
So my question is, how does Bollywood's use of market forces and celebrity branding speed up the fashion cycle, and what does this struggle suggest for future fashion economies?
Yes, Roshni, as I mentioned in the my presentation that in Rocky or Rani Ki Prem Kahani, how the Alia Bhatt's the sari also, and yesterday when I searched it on Amazon, so I think 5 lakh sold that sari. And in Amazon it is not available, as I found yesterday. So how the nowadays in TV serials also we can find that. So actors and they are now become ambassador for that grown all those things. Thank you.
So, hello everyone. Today my presentation topic about the eating identity, food, everyday life and a cultural representation in India and beyond. That is my personal information, table of content. So, my research question, how do food practice in India and other society reflect a cultural identity, gender roles and social hierarchies and in everyday life? Hypothesis, food practice act as a symbolic marks of a social identity, gender norms, and a cultural power, connecting an individual's choice with a collective culture representation. So, this original life support my research question and hypothesis that food is the both a mark of identity and the means throughout the which a cultural knowledge is the transmit to across a generation. Introduction. In this, I objective that explore how food reflect a cultural identity, gender, and social norms in everyday life, both India and global. So I will present some of the theoretical lens like in a cultural study, gender, and ethnicities, global, local food practice. So in original line of one of the article Visar, I observe, I can found that food is both a mark of identity and a means throughout the which culture knowledge is transmitted across the generation. Food as a cultural representation. So how food reflect a culture, identity and a social form. So in Narayan's article, I can found that linking the colonial British fabrication of a curry powder to the colonial fabrication of India, social making meaning of synthetic food in a Western context much also be considered for the point of view of immigrants. So, for example, a Canadians woman constructs ethnic and gender identity throughout the food. So, food curries meaning that go beyond nutrition. It communicate a social value, identity, and heritage. Food, power, and everyday life. So in this slide, I focus on intersections of food with power, gender, and class. So food consumptions of the pattern relieves much about social hierarchies and the power relays in everyday life. We know that food is a culture, but it also a power. For example, a Goa candidate woman of would work both a site of gender operations and a form of colonial capacity with a family and a community. I also include some examples like a festival food reinforce social hierarchies and alternative food network challenging a conversation of power structures. Food identity and social interactions. So food is a medium of social choices of identity. So social media influence are having a profound impact on how diners seek information about the culinary and ability establishment and are redefined how the marketing industry promote registration and the brand for as Instagram food influence create a connect shaped by a personal experience, cultural invariance, and imagine with a social system. So for examples like Indian street food culture fosters a social boundaries and a community intersection. Globalization and the cultural food practice. I focus on global trends influence as a local food culture. So these in article De La Pena, I can found that the process whereby a local food become a global or a global food become a local to be dynamic. So co-creative one jointly fictionated by a human and a nature. So I can include examples like forcing kissing in India and a fast food adoption in the traditional society. Food and gender perspective. So food is shaping a gender role and identity. Traditionally, we observe that food habit highlight a changing gender roles and a family dynamic within a South Indian household. So in a study on 20 South Indian women balancing curries and family nutrition lead to a reduced traditional cooking and encourage the fast food consumption. So Indian household connect as a woman's role in cooking and identity. So I argue that food practice are center medium connective of the culture, identity, gender, and power reflecting and shaping a social hierarchies, a local and a global. All I can also discuss the whole point in my presentation that food convey a social identity, ethnicity, religions, caste, and gender roles. Global influence can encouraged on described a local food tradition. Media, advertising, and a digital platform shape a everyday food habit and a practice of modernity. That is my learning outcome. Conclusion: food is not merely a source of a standards. It is functions as a cultural marks and a tool of a social power. Social power linking identity, gender, and society. So, globalizations and digital media introduce new layers to found a cultural and a representation. So, a traditional practice continue to retain a cultural meaning. So, in article Vesars, I observe that eating is a act of a cultural experience that link the personal to the social, to the local, to the global. That is my reference. Thank you. Do you have any question? Please ask.
Rosemin, my question is, how does migration change a person's food identity?
So peoples go to the another country, and that time they try to eat their country's food, local food, but sometime people bring their country's food with them in this in another country also. They connected to them.
Roseman, my question is, how can a plate of food tell a story about a culture?
As some of the ingredients, spice, and how to make a food. They connected to the style, connected to the uh, uh, they cultures and environment of that place. So that is my thank you.
So hello everyone, myself Mita Chambucha, and today my presentation topic is Chetan Bhagat and the commodification of Indian youth culture. This is my personal information. Research question: how do Chetan Bhagat's popular novels, through their portrayal of contemporary urban Indian youth, function as an agent and a reflection of the commodification and reification of education, personal identity, and relationship within a globalized capitalist society? Hypothesis: Chetan Bhagat's immense popularity is directly linked to his novels' ability to strategically package the reliability of a young urban middle class Indian, specifically their struggles with education, career, ambition, and modern relationship into a mass market culture commodity. This literary framework actively reinforces the reification of social life by constantly portraying success and personal value as a contingent and economic transaction and material status, thereby validating the commercial and profit driven logic of modern Indian society. So, table of content, introduction. So, Chetan Bhagat is considered the most recognized literary voice of the 20th century India, noted for his immense popularity, 9 super hit novels, and adaptation of 4 books into movies. And the core argument is that Bhagat's success stemmed from the commodification of this authentic youth experience, and this commodification is evident in modern Indian life, particularly how education is viewed as a profit-driven enterprise for lucrative salary package, how identity and relationship are reduced to transactional and market driven choice due to globalization and the corporate environment. So Chetan Bhagat and the commodification of Indian youth culture in the Chetan Bhagat phenomenon. So Chetan Bhagat is arguably the most recognized literary voice of 20th century India. He has achieved immense popularity demonstrated by his 9 super hit novels, and the fact that 4 of these novels have been adapted in the movies and defining the culture product. His novels primarily focus on the lives and issues of young urban middle class Indians, and the youth of depicts are characterized by their ambition, passion, honestly, and belief in transparency in a digital world. And the core argument of commodification, the concept of commodification in this context refers to how this authentic youth experience their challenges, dreams, and anxieties is transformed into a highly marketable literary and cinematic product, and the reliability as a currency, the and packaging conflict, and the commercial loop. So the core argument, commodification as a reification. The critical reading of Chetan Bhagat's Revolution 2020 is grounded in the concept of reification. This is the process where relationship, emotion, and action are transformed into more things. Commodize is a capitalist economy, and the reification is a common perception and a specific ideology of people living in a capitalist society. And the case study Revolution 2020 and the commodified life, and the novel illustrates three key areas where Indian youth culture is objectified. The first, education as a product. The study of reification explores the essence of social reality and the ambition as transaction. The hides some facts and propagates some deceptive ideas in the society. And the third, relationship as a price. The intersection of the characters have been explored with references of reifications. The commodified lives, identity, relationship, and culture in Chetan Bhagat's One Night at the Call Center. So in the article, impact of globalization in Chetan Bhagat's One Night at the Call Center explores how globalization and the corporate call center environment drive the commodification of the urban Indian youth identity. The crisis of the perpetual identity. The call center forces Indian employees to adopt a new identity by discarding their original identity in order to serve American customers. And American tongues have trouble saying in my real name, and prefer some other character similarity adopt new names. And Varun Malhotra becomes Victor Male, and Aisha Singh becomes Eliza Singers. Their character are thus forced to live in a dual identity in their own nation. Commodification of relationship and morality. So even personal bonds are reduced to market-driven transformation, and relationship and emotional choices are increasingly viewed through a patriarchal market-driven lens, effectively discarding the role of the sentimental. And furthermore, the youth exhibit an rebellious attitude against the social and cultural taboos. The corporate takeover of culture. The globalization introduced the concept of the corporate culture and the westernized nightlife in India. And also the final article notes a shift in food habits, where a new era of junk food, fast food as well. And the characters even use the internet to legitimize their choices. So the commodification of Indian from glorious past to relevant present. So the general framework of the communication in India, commodification in India is outlined in the article is one of converting cultural meaning into a product with economic utilization. The specific topic of Chetan Bhagat and Indian youth culture represent a modern extension of the fundamental process, and the foundation commodifying the mythological Indian tourism. So the living reality of our days in eliminated, and there is a clear evidence to speak about present India, and the said mechanism, sign, value, and narratives. Both the tourism broaches and the popular novel fiction in by creating compelling narrative and sign that resonate with a specific target audience. So commodification of education and the knowledge in Chetan Bhagat's novel, the high value package and the IIT system. So in this, the word package into more Indianized connotation for the family. It is a term introduced as a part of commercialization and commercialization of the coaching industries. So he exposed how the education has become a huge business, even through it is against the law. And made the system corruption as it is a corporate, it is a social crime. So commodification of knowledge itself, the Bhagat's work is suitably within a modern India where intellectual capital and academic degrees are treated as a market commodities. So Chetan Bhagat's effect on youth culture, socio-culture and impact discourages. So the literary and cultural transformation is work bridge traditional Indian literature with contemporary storytelling. It has made English novels fashionable and reading mainstream activity among urban and semi-urban youth. So in conclusion, commodification as the core of the Bhagat phenomenon. So Chetan Bhagat bridge traditional Indian storytelling with modern youth culture, but his work utopizes the commodification of Indian youth. He turns real struggles, education, ambition, identity, and relationship into a marketable product. So while his novel promote love and economic choice and progressive, they also mirror and reinforce a capitalist logic where youth culture itself becomes a commodity. So this is my learning outcome. These are my references.
Question: it was way does Chetan Bhagat's writing blur the line between a reality and advertisement?
So Bhagat writing blur the line between reality and advertisement because advertisement by turning real life and success and modern living into glossy and marketable stories that feel like a lifestyle ads and Indian youth.
Nita, why is Chetan Bhagat called the voice of India's new middle class?
Chetan Bhagat called the voice of India's new middle class because he captured their dreams, struggles, and ambition, modern success, love, and self-made life. So this is from my side. Thank you.
Okay, so that was the last presentation. And we are ending this season, third season there. One more remains at the end of semester 4. So a quick feedback to what you presented. Okay. We started with Nirali's presentation, and the content was good. Read it out well, but when it comes to question answer, you need to see that how you reply properly. Speaking skills, you need to improve. So keep on practicing. Anybody who still staggers to speak fluently, now you have a mobile phone, record your voice, and then keep on listening yourself. Your presentations also. Listen, and you yourself will find that how and where you need to improve that. Now you have only one semester to improve yourself. Nikita also presented well on critical pedagogy. Good slide content was presented. There was a good question also by Mita asked this question that transformation or adaptation. What is the way that you look at that? So adaptation model in education that speaks about preparing students to fit into socio-economic political structure. So how you prepare somebody so that they can fit into some structure, like in hard times, Dickens is making a critique of that school system where you prepare somebody for the industry. This transformative system, this model means it reshapes individual, more dynamic and democratic approach is found there. And it encourages learners for critical thinking, for personal growth. That is transformative system. That is critical pedagogy in both the ways, that how people use that. But you are not able to give a proper answer. Nikita, you are not able to justify that in a proper way. Mansi also had a good topic, when comparative literature becomes cultural studies. Next semester we will have comparative literature also. So that was a good article also. But you're comparing this or giving illustration from Uncle Tom's Cabin. That was still not very convincing, that how that fits into these two categories of comparison and cultural studies. Devangini presented on the spectacle and simulation. That also was a good topic. Debard's idea of spectacle and Baudrillard's simulation. So in a more simple way, people say that this spectacle is like there was a question also regarding the difference there. Spectacle can be seen in a way like we no longer live life, we watch it. So that is spectacle, the culture. So like are we living or watching? So you may say that, well, we give lots of time in watching things now, what other people are doing, how they are manifesting their life. So if that is reality, then that is Debard's spectacle. That as if everything is a performance and we keep on looking at what other people are doing through the images that are shared by the people. That is spectacle. Simulation means that there is no life to watch, only images pretending to be life. There are only images which are all unreal images. There is still life, and there is still the possibility that the life is represented, manifested. In simulation, there is no life. The image is completely unreal. So whatever we see is not in actuality at all. That is Baudrillard's simulation. Smriti also presented well on this concept of attention economy, political economy of scrolling and feeding, that how it goes there. So a couple of presentations were there in the same line, talking about the same idea. Shruti also was talking about prosumer. Prosumer is a word which is made of producer and consumer. So in this data age, we are the producer, we are the consumer. So we become prosumers. So it is a kind of a cycle where it seems we are given freedom to talk, but then we are ourselves a commodity, turning ourselves into a commodity. So prosumer word. So data determinism was also good by Shruti. And you also presented this, that you agree with several things, you disagree. And then what was your take on that? That is a good idea to present the things. Okay. Third way of looking, you talked about that. So this way we see, we make a critique of the world, but there is no escape from that. It is a kind of a thing where you can't escape. The escape is almost traditionally like committing suicide. So whether we want to end a life or what to do. So there is no, so you can't even celebrate the life, you can't even condemn the life. But the third way is to actively get engaged into cultural intervention. That how actively we keep on performing and observing also, both the things, how we can do. That is the third alternative instead of celebrating or condemning the thing. So that was well presented. Tanvi also had a good idea of canonicity and a good way. This Shelley, Shakespeare, in popular culture were discussed how the canon formation happens. Most of these writers like Shakespeare, Wordsworth, Romantics, they were very popular once upon a time. Then they became canon. Then how now the popular culture keeps on playing with the canonicity. Okay? Rajdeep also presented well with the example of white tiger, rooster coop, this. So this, though it's a tiger, but still you are having no better life, because the rooster coop idea and the novel White Tiger had a reference of looking at a white tiger in a zoo. Now that is a big metaphor. Even if you are a tiger, but still you are in a zoo, you are in a prison. So you can't be proud of your tigerness, that I am jungle ka raja, I am sher, I am this. But no, you are in a prison. You are in a zoo where people come to watch you. This. So escaping. What is the difference between liberation, freedom? Are we going from a small prison to a bigger prison? Then if you try to escape, then we go into the another prison. So we keep on moving. And then somewhere we start loving that prison, that we think that this is freedom. And then we love that prison by giving a new name, that this is liberation or that is a freedom. David Hubert's article you referred to, that was a good article on this techno-capital, capitalism. Krishna also presented well on namesake and American multiculturalism. Sagar also on cultural and urban spaces. That also is a good topic to look at, urban spaces. Srushti also talked about language and gender, UNESCO and Supreme Court of India. The example that you used, the article also was very good. Let me share a screen. Okay. This article was referred, and it is a very good study of Jordanian textbooks. Jordan is a Islamic country, and with the help of UNESCO guidelines on gender equality, a very good study is being done of the textbooks, and it gave a very interesting outcome, that what way gendered words, examples, characters are used in textbooks. Let me share this. This is the article, and good study. It is a good article, and anybody who wants to do a study here in Gujarat or in India, they can take help of this article as a template also. So some graphical presentations about how female, girl, women, men, boys and males are represented. We see that more of the line, that is the yellow line, represents men or male, is given. And this also was a good graphic presented, that how female occupational activities in textbooks, various activities are given, mathematics or other things. So in that, female stood for writer, physician, fashion designer, laboratory technician. Male, female both were teacher, scientist, engineer, investor. But the long list for the male occupational activities, pilot, farmer, sea captain, merchant, petrol pump attendant, driver, photographer, carpenter, business owner, artist, painter, football coach. So that normally went to the male counterpart in the textbook. This is the writing of a textbook and examples that are given there. So this was a good article, which was where they applied these ideas about these things. Okay, so that was a good one. The Nishtha on fashion and identity. You took 3 examples, but only one was explored thoroughly. Only one. That was about Bollywood. Like you gave example of how that representation of Bollywood turned into commodity. And then there are websites where they are selling it. The same way you have to connect with other 2 also. Then the sequence is maintained. Like Ghibli art, how it also is commodified. Is anybody selling that thing? then it is in tune with the first example. If anybody starts a business and starts generating the image and starts selling it, that if anybody is doing, then you can say, but that was not the case there. Even K-pop also, that what way it is commodified in Indian urban youth are under the influence of K-pop, Korean pop culture, but what way it has been seen in the daily life, like Bollywood, that needs to be given as an example. Then there is a parallel among all the three. Otherwise, it doesn't prove the point. The first one, you have shown the screenshots that this is how sarees are sold, by telling that this is this heroine has worn or this style. But what about the other two, where it was missing one? Ghibli art has a different kind of a critic, which also is a necessary critic in a AI era, and that is theft of artistic style. The Japanese artist who made that particular style, and he had a unique trademark of that. Normally we know the painters are known by their style of painting. Each and every one, they unless they do not have the uniqueness in their style, they are not known. So as soon as people see the painting, they will say this is Van Gogh, this is this, that is that. So that is that. Now AI is stealing that art and is giving that art to anybody and everybody. That you also can be like Van Gogh, you can be like this, you can. So that concern, that ethical concern is coming, that to what extent artificial intelligence should be given a liberty to use all these people's art, which is very unique, which is very rare to be seen, and nobody can copy that as such. So that is a big concern which people talked a lot, and people are writing also in when we say ethics and AI. It is this ethics and AI, that to what extent we allow AI to do cheating, to do theft, to plunder somebody's intellectual property, somebody's creative art, but we are allowing that to be done, and collectively everybody's interest is in that. So people are not very much raising a concern. The majority is on the beneficial side of that theft. It is like a Robin Hood who is stealing from the rich people but giving to poor people. The myth of Robin Hood, he is stealing from the rich but giving to the poor. So for poor is a hero. Robin Hood myth is a story of somebody who is a hero. We see AI like that, but one day when our things will be stolen, we will be worried that why my thing you are stealing, why you are not asking me, why you are not paying me and doing that. But that is the important concern in Ghibli art that one can question. Rosmin also had a good point on food studies. Mita also presented well on Chetan Bhagat and commodification. So you can keep in mind that what is to portray something and what is to commodify. People portray young people, children, grown-up people in literature. We say portrayal or representation of this society, these people that we see. Now, why here we say it is commodification? It is not portrayal of young people, but it is commodification of them. So why that idea? So in the article that you have discussed, they have given it very clearly also. You put it on the slide also. Commodification means this, when you turn anything into marketable literary product and use sentiments of young people just to market it, to sell your product. That is what Chetan Bhagat is doing. That is why there is a difference between portrayal and commodification there. Well, so to end, we had this time a good advantage of this honors system. Many of you have used very quality articles, and that's why your references and your slides also were having a good quality in your reference. Gestor and both you have utilized here. So all these articles that you referred, they all are coming from TNF, Taylor and Francis articles. Some of them are in open access, but not all. This also postcolonialism in American city, rhetoric of American multiculturalism. This all articles that you have referred, and many more articles were referred. And I was just counting that randomly, if you might have used around 20 articles every day from TNF, then you might have spent 1 lakh rupees. Normal average price is around $50 to $56 per article. Roughly the price is $56. So 20 articles daily. If you are 30 students, and you might have actual more than 20, and then I also verify here. So it multiplies more, it becomes 40. When I also download, check and see the things there. So you can say that every day at least 1 lakh rupees we have used in trying to make the presentations, and that's why thanks to Government of India for subscribing and doing this one nation, one subscription, which is very beneficial to the students. We don't know whether anybody would be doing calculations that what is the monetary advantage of this. Otherwise, we would have never gone to these articles. We would have only relied on summaries, as Mansi has done the other day. You have to only rely on the summary, and then you don't have confidence that what I am doing is exactly in the article or not. If I read it, then I verify here, then I find it is there. So I also get satisfied that yes, what you are bringing, whether you know or not, but it is true. You are bringing, but it is, you are aware about that or not. But when I check, I come to know that yes, these things are there in the article. So then we confidently can suggest those articles to other people also. But what is the cost of that? It is very costly. I can say that just in 5 days, around every day 1 lakh rupees of the articles we have explored through this platform. Okay, so with this we end our this season. Wish you all the best for your exams, which are coming up from 13th. You have the exams. In between, you have a break for youth festival. So you can you already have a task for youth festival also. So you have to participate as an onlooker, as a volunteer, and also if you are performing in any event, then wish you all the best for your performance also. Okay? So we end our session here. Okay?